Thank you. Just following that, Professor Zawicki, so when you were talking about what appears almost like a surcharge when someone has to pay more when they use their credit card, isn't what we're really talking about here transparency? In other words, as long as the consumer knows up ahead of time whether they're going to a hotel in Las Vegas or a hotel in Denver, they should have some sense if they're going to be added costs. Is that fair to say?
Yes, if there will be added costs.
I mean, transparency, I think, is the one connecting thing. I look at them. I think junk fees sometimes is the wrong term because it does sound pejorative. Maybe surprise fees is another way of looking at it. But either way, I think most people find it very objectionable.
That's right. And, the logic here is we want to try to bundle, we want to have all-in pricing, right? Rather than here's the price and now here's the additional price if you use a credit card, right? And so to be coherent about this, I think we want to think about sort of when we want to have all-in pricing and when unbundling is appropriate. Transparency is just a means to an end, I think, of consumers finding the right mix of goods, services, and prices that they're looking for. So.
Right. And let me ask each of you a question, just kind of get it on the record, that some services are offered to consumers as an option, additional cost, an optional additional cost, but obviously certain fees are generally of an administrative sort, are mandatory for consumers in order to purchase the product or service. So if you can, just a simple yes or no, should all mandatory fees be included in the initial advertised price?
Yes, certainly.
I think generally, yes.
Professor Morowitz?
I agree, yes.
Yeah, because I think that's, again, part of this, the essential question here is how transparent is the transaction from the beginning? Professor Morowitz, small businesses are the backbone of our country and the backbone of our economy. They prioritize serving their customers and drive economic growth in rural and urban areas alike. If every company displayed all-in upfront pricing to consumers, small and large businesses would have a more level playing field on which to compete. I look at this again as the cost of hidden prices. That's not only that they mislead consumers, but they also put small businesses at a disadvantage against larger competitors. So, Dr. Morowitz, would you describe how hidden junk fees hurt small businesses when you're in the process of competing for customers?
Yes, I'd be happy to. When a larger firm, or really any firm, uses hidden fees or surcharges, it doesn't only hurt consumers, but it hurts well-intentioned, honest competitors like many of our country's small businesses that you're talking about. So when a larger firm makes salient a lower base price and only puts in the small print or only reveals at the end of the shopping process that there are additional mandatory fees, their product offerings may appear, at least at first, to be cheaper than those of, say, a small business, an honest competitor who uses all-inclusive prices, whose prices, at least at first, then will appear more expensive, even if they're actually cheaper in total when the hidden fees of the large firm are added in. Now, research shows this is going to lead consumers to be more likely to even first consider the products and services of the larger firm who uses hidden surcharges because their products seem cheaper. In other words, their supposed low prices draw consumers in. But then, having first considered their products, consumers will also be more likely to stick with that firm and ultimately purchase their products, even when they're more expensive in total with the fees. So these hidden fees, they don't only hurt consumers by leading them to make purchases that are against their own self-interest, but it also hurts honest competitors who are using transparent pricing practices. They also make it difficult for a firm maybe who's currently using hidden fees, but realizes it's wrong and wants to stop, to move away from doing so, because if they move to all-inclusive pricing, but their competitors don't, they'll lose market share. So all of this ultimately hurts honest small businesses who compete for customers against a larger firm that has kind of perfected and capitalized on the use of hidden fees.
Great, thank you very much. And Ms. Greenberg, certain sectors, as we've heard, such as aviation, already display upfront pricing, excludes additional fees like baggage or seats, but people are aware of that and they are informed of that prior to purchase or in the process of purchase. In other sectors, companies have started displaying all-in upfront pricing to consumers, but companies have adopted this unevenly, let's say. We, I think, all agree that customers benefit from transparent upfront pricing. How could federal legislation encourage upfront pricing to consumers evenly and fairly across all sectors?
Well, first of all, we're talking about posting mandatory fees, all-in pricing on the final cost of the service or product. Secondly, there are legislative fixes. The junk fees bill that was introduced would go a long way toward addressing the excessive imposition of junk fees on consumers. Third, consumers would benefit from the Congress acting on the recent decision by the Supreme Court to overturn the FTC's ability to impose monetary penalties for unfair and deceptive practices. So those are three steps that could take. There's other pieces of legislation that we support that are before this committee. We think would go a long way to righting the wrongs against consumers.
Great, thank you. I'm going to turn now to Senator Klobuchar, our ace eagle on transparency.